Grand rising, grand arrival, grand return. Peace and blessings to the righteous and the repentant alike. I'm Chief Sophia of the AMERICAN Band of Indians. And in this video, we're going to discuss the temple of Libra, which is ruled by Hephaestus. Hephaestus is, in the Greek pantheon, is Hephaestus or Hephaest. In the Roman pantheon, it's Vulcan. In the Hindu pantheon, it's Agni, and it's the god of fire, forger of armor, and unable to walk. He is always seen lame. Okay, God of fire, volcanoes, metalworking, artisans, metallurgy, carpenters, forgers, sculpting, and blacksmiths. Okay, so we're going to read his intro, obviously, and then we're going to see what he did in the Troy War and his major mythology. Okay, so Hephaestus is the Greek god of the artisans, blacksmiths, carpenters, craftsmen, fire, metallurgy, metalworking, sculpture, and volcanoes. In Greek mythology, Hephaestus was the son of Hera, either on her own or by her husband Zeus. He was cast off Mount Olympus by his mother Hera because of his lameness, the result of a congenital impairment, or in another account, by Zeus for protecting Hera from his advances, in which case his lameness would have been the result of the fall rather than the reason for it. As a smithing god, Hephaestus made all the weapons of the gods in Olympus. He served as the blacksmith of the gods. He was worshipped in the manufacturing and the industrial centers of Greece, particularly Athens. The cult of Hephaestus was based in Lemnos. Hephaestus' symbols are a smith, hammer, anvil, and a pair of tongs. In Rome, he was equated with Vulcan. All right, Hephaestus is probably associated with Apaitijo, okay, inscription. The inscription directly attests his worship at that time because it's believed that it reads the theophoric name Hephaestos or Hephaestion. The Greek theonym Hephaestos is probably of pre-Greek origin as the form without the I, right? And that's typically how the Greek did it. Okay, so here's his mythology. In Homer's Iliad, Hephaestus is described as the son of Hera. The Iliad seemingly also refers to Zeus as his father at 2 points, though it is possible these passages are not referring to Hephaestus as Zeus' literal son. Okay, the Odyssey does, however, refer explicitly to Hephaestus as having two parents, the identity of whom would presumably be Zeus and Hera. In Hesiod's Theogony, Hera gives birth to Hephaestus on her own, out of revenge for Zeus having, without her, fathered Athena, the daughter of Zeus and Metis. Apollodorus similarly states that Hera gives birth to Hephaestus alone, though he also relates that, according to Homer, Hephaestus is one of the children of Zeus and Hera. Several later texts follow Hesiod's account, including Hyginus, which is the preface for his fabulae. According to the Attic vase painters, Lord, according to the Attic vase painters, Hephaestus, here we go, was present at the birth of Athena and wielded the axe with which he split Zeus's head to free her. Hephaestus as is represented as older than Athena, so the mythology of Hephaestus is inconsistent in this respect. Some sources state the origin myth of Hephaestus is that of a demon coming from the earth, that he was also associated with gas, which takes fire and burns and is considered by many people to be divine. And only later was Avono considered Hephaestus' smithy. Okay, wait a minute. He uses the volcano fire to forge his weapons. Oh Lord. He was associated by Greek colonists in southern Italy with the volcano gods Adranus, Mount Etna, Vulcanus, and Lipari Islands. The first century sage Apollonius of Tyana is said to have observed there are many other mountains over the earth that are on fire, and yet would never be done with it if we assign them to giants and gods like Hephaestus. Nevertheless, Hephaestus' domain over fire goes back to Homer's Iliad, where he uses the flames to dry the waters of the Scamandrus River in order to force its eponymous deity, who attacked who was attacking Achilles to retreat. His favorite place in the mortal world is the island of Lemnos, where he liked to dwell among the Cynitans, but he also frequented other volcanic islands such as Lipari, Hiera, Imbros, Sicily, which were called his abodes or workshops, okay? Then he fell from Olympus, returned to Olympus. Craft of Hephaestus. Let's look at his crafts. Hephaestus has his own place on Olympus containing his workshop with anvil and 20 bellows that worked at his bidding. He crafted much of the magnificent equipment of the gods, and almost any finely wrought metalwork imbued with his powers appears to be Greek. In the Greek myth is said to have been forged by Hephaestus. He designed all the thrones in the palace of Olympus. The Aegis breastplate, Hermes' winged helmet and sandals, Aphrodite's famed girdle, Eros's bow and arrows, Helios' chariot, Heracles' bronze clappers, and the shoulder of Pelops. Hephaestus also created the gift that the gods gave to mankind, the first woman, Pandora, and her Pythos. In some versions of the myth, Prometheus stole that fire and gave it to man from Hephaestus' forge. Hephaestus gave the blinded Orion his apprentice Cetalion as a guide. In later accounts, Hephaestus worked with the Cyclops Brontes, Steropes, and Arges, who were highly skilled blacksmiths in their own right, and forged Zeus's thunderbolts, Poseidon's trident, and Hades' helmet of darkness. Automatons. According to Homer, Hephaestus built automatons of metalwork for him or others. This included tripods with golden wheels, able to move at his wish and out of the assembly hall of the Celestials, and handmaidens wrought in gold in the semblance of living maids, who had an understanding in their hearts and speech and strength as a gift of the gods. They moved to support Hephaestus while walking. Hephaestus also put gold and silver lions and dogs at the entrance of the palace at Kinus in such a way that they could bite invaders. These guard dogs did not age or perish. A similar golden dog was set by Rhea to guard the infant Zeus and his nurse Almathea's horn, on the island of Crete. Later, Tantalus is said to have stolen the automaton when it guarded Zeus's temple, or to have persuaded Pandarios to steal it for him. Later texts attempt to replace the automaton with the idea that the golden dog was actually Rhea, transformed by Hephaestus. So listen to this. Okay, let's talk. We got to pause on this automatons. All of this artificial intelligence is stolen technology from Hephaestus. All of it. He is the one who created all of this stuff. And so if they're got, waifu, robot women, cabbage patch women who are giving birth to babies, all of that technology, they're doing in the name of Hephaestus and lying about it. And it makes sense. Think about if you have Pluto and Libra, right? You have any Libra placements, but particularly the Pluto and Libra generation, which is our Gen Xers, right? What did they want y'all to be? Y'all were supposed to be the automaton, just following orders, not thinking for yourself, going along with what you've always been told, and all of that. And y'all roundly rejected all of that mess. Most of you, some, not everybody, obviously, most of you roundly rejected that. And basically said, no, we want to work with Hephaestus directly because he could do a lot of stuff, not just create automatons. He created a lot of stuff, a lot of protectors. And all of the Pluto and Libra generation, this is who y'all primarily been guided by. And what did they say about y'all? That y'all, something was wrong with y'all. Y'all was lame, right? Lame, literally. They said y'all were lame, y'all were lazy. Like, no, that's not what happened. Actually, you guys were ruled by Hephaestus, and so they did not know. That's why there's a big X. They did not know what was going to happen. And also X marks the spot because Hephaestus was thrown out of quote unquote heaven. And he liked as well where? With the volcanoes. So you have all these volcanoes going off. They're here to activate the Gen Xers. Now you can see how the story is playing out. The way that they tell the story doesn't make any sense. But when you put these characters in the story, it makes way more sense, okay? Let's read about the giants, other myths, okay? Hephaestus fought against the giants and killed Mimas by throwing molten iron at him. This is also why you have Gen X that love weapons. You cannot take a Gen Xer away from their weapon, okay? There's a reason for that. That's big Hephaestus energy. Now I understand it, because I know a lot of Gen Xers, they do not play about their weapons. Hephaestus, okay? During the battle, Hephaestus fell down exhausted and was picked up by Helios in his chariot. As a gift of gratitude, Hephaestus forged 4 ever-flowing fountains and fire-breathing bulls for Helios' son, Aeetes. At the marriage of Peleus and Thetis, Hephaestus gave a knife as a wedding present. When the Trojan War began, Hephaestus sided with the Greeks and forged armor of Achilles, the cuirass of Diomedes, and Agamemnon's staff of office. But Hephaestus was also worshipped by the Trojans and saved one of their men from being killed by Diomedes. So the Trojan War is actually very interesting for all of this. So up to this point, right, we're on the top half of the wheel, okay? That would be Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. All of those entities sided with the Trojans. Now that we're on the bottom half, right, the lower half of the wheel, now we have the first one, which is Hephaestus, and he sided with the Greeks. So that's very interesting. We're not going to talk about his consorts and all of that. We'll come back to that at another time, you guys, because it's just a lot. I just want to see if there's something about him specifically with the Trojan War. There's not, okay? So we're not going to beleaguer this, because I said I only really want to talk about the mythology and the Trojan War in the introduction. So this is your introduction to the Temple of Libra, and we're definitely going to be discussing more of this as it comes along. So shalom, peace and blessings, and we'll see you in the next video.